I'm Dana Perino, and this is Perino on Politics. A day after Philadelphia dominated on the field, President Trump has his eagle eyes set on the Department of Education and possibly more. Joining me now is former GOP strategist and host of the Rich Zeoli Show, Rich Zeoli. And this is Perino on Politics. This is where I talk to my friends and say what's going on with politics. And it just so happens that Rich Zeoli is from Philadelphia, and so he's very happy today.
I'm very happy today. Very happy to be your friend, Dana. I'm very happy to see you in green.
Thank you for being here.
We're both wearing green.
Okay, so can I tell you about the green?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize until after America's Newsroom today, it's Monday, the day after the Super Bowl, that I was wearing Eagles green. What happened was I was wearing a pink jacket, and then I was reminded that tomorrow there's a photographer going to be on set for a media relations thing for Gutfeld. And I thought, I need a brighter color for tomorrow. So why don't I wear the pink jacket tomorrow? And this was the next thing in my closet, the green sweater.
Yeah.
So it all just worked out.
Do you know that's exactly what happened with me? I'm going to wear a pink jacket tomorrow. And so I had to go with a green tie.
I could believe it if it was a pink tie. If not. So the Super Bowl was a great distraction. Did Philly burn down last night? Or did they behave?
Left.
Did everybody behave?
Nobody's gone to bed yet. That much I know. No one went to bed. It was just too excited.
So fun.
The police were going through our town, lights and sirens flashing, fireworks last night. It was great.
You were the underdog-ish,
Yeah, that's
right?
a comeback story.
And so that feels really good. When they were 24-0, up 24-0, did you think, this is over?
I said,
when did you know you were going to win?
I knew then it was over, and I said to myself, I really should have bet on this game, because I don't bet on sports ever, because my sports knowledge is similar to, somebody else's sports knowledge, but I was like, come on, we got this. And I saw the look on Patrick Mahomes' face after the second half, and I knew he knew it was over.
Yeah.
He had lost the eye of the tiger, Dana, and that was it. And then you looked over at Jalen Hurts, and he had it. He had the eye of the tiger. And then I loved at the end, Coach Sirianni, thanking God. Like, that's great. He's a local guy in South Jersey, and everybody knows him and his kids, and he's the nicest guy. And then Jalen Hurts did, too. And I thought it was very pro-America. Lots to love about last night's game.
There were a lot of fans in New Orleans. Did you think of going?
There were more Eagles. I can't afford it. There were more Eagles fans than there were anybody else. That was great.
You mentioned sports betting.
Yeah.
I think we are on a dangerous path.
I agree with you. Yeah.
There was Matthew Hennessy, is that his name? Yeah, I think he writes for the Wall Street Journal. He had a big piece over the weekend about sports betting, and I know people are having a lot of fun with it. I get that, but the rate of addiction for gambling is really high. And now that younger people can do it, especially young men, starting at 18, I guess it is, or I think that's the age, but they can get addicted so quickly, and it could ruin their lives.
So years ago, it's an interesting story, actually. When I was doing mornings on our station in Philadelphia, I was endorsing one of those sites, but I don't gamble myself. And they wanted me to pretend like I was. And I turned around and I said, I can't do this. I'm not going to lie to my audience and pretend like I gamble. And I also got emails from people saying you really shouldn't encourage people to do this. So I said, I can't endorse your product anymore. And I'm glad I made that decision, because it's just too easy. It's everywhere. And it's ironic, too, from Philadelphia, considering Pete Rose is banned for life. He'll never be in the Hall of Fame. And you can bet the odds on, it's just crazy.
So we are here to talk about politics. I have to say that there's so much going on that it's kind of, I was telling Bill Hemmer today, you almost have to think about triage. Okay, like if you're in the emergency room, what stories are you going to focus on first? Yeah. To me, I think that we have to spend a moment talking about this situation in Israel and Gaza and the hostages that were released on Saturday. This deal that was struck for the ceasefire and that to gradually allow these hostages to come out. I am sympathetic to the people who are, I can understand both sides, but the people who are saying we have to get all of them out now. What do we have to do to accelerate this? Because we know from the condition that those three hostages were in, which were, as President Trump said, they look like Holocaust victims, and the humiliation, right? When there was the one guy that Hamas paraded in front of the cameras. I guess they did that with all three of them. But they said, what are you most looking forward to? And he said, seeing my wife and children. And then they laughed because they knew that his wife and children had been murdered on October 7th, and he didn't know that. the cruelty of all of it just felt so like such a big weight. And President Trump said, I don't know how long we're going to be able to take that. So I decided today in my triage world, I think that, or in my triage scenario, I think that's the most important story. Okay. There are people underground right now. We know that because the hostages that were released said they were being held with others. How do you think that's going to turn out?
This is the big test for President Trump right now. I mean, this is his first big foreign policy test. He has to get all his hostages out, has to. And it's crucial that he does very soon. Don't you think the world's going to be looking at us and our relationship with Netanyahu and seeing if we can make this happen?
I think so. I mean, I think that you wouldn't have gotten a ceasefire or any of these hostages out without President Trump.
No question about it.
And you think about that with, like, I'm not going to say that the Biden people weren't trying, but they weren't utilizing any levers of power to make it happen.
Yeah.
And President Trump was able to do that. And so there's that. But now that we've seen the condition of the other hostages, because the first ones that came out, like the girls, they obviously they're traumatized, but they weren't in dire skeletal conditions. These men were, and they're saying that there are others that are like that are still alive.
Do you think that the whole idea of America will take over the Gaza Strip is the Jedi mind trick to make it happen? Because that's a big deal, right? I mean, if there's a bigger U.S. presence, which is obviously not what they want.
I mean, maybe. I'm going to pay a lot of attention. I think part of it is that you have to have the element of surprise. Clearly, you and I aren't talking to all of the different parties, and I know Steve Witkoff has this top of mind.
Yeah.
I did have a scenario last week where after President Trump had said, well, we'll just take over the Gaza Strip then. I said, at least it's got the conversation past the two-state solution, Palestinians going to return to Gaza, and we're just going to do this over again in a year. It was like, no, actually, let's do something that makes the Arab countries have to come to the table. What Gutfeld said on the show that night was, yeah, it's like when you and your sister are fighting over the remote, and the dad comes in and turns off the television and says, no more TV until you two work it out. So now the Arab countries are going to have to maybe step up. Maybe. I mean, we'll see.
Maybe, or they're going to have a bigger U.S. presence, and they don't want a bigger U.S. presence there. So I think it is the ultimate. All right, so you guys don't want this land? All right, we'll take it. Oh, you do want the land? Oh, because I thought you didn't want the land.
That's a dad tactic. Right
Absolutely,
there.
psychological.
So I like that as well. So then there were some other things. For example, this is kind of a fun one. President Trump said, we're going to stop making the penny.
Yeah.
And I'm for that. I'm okay with that.
Are you, though? Because I'm a little worried this is going to lead us down the road to digital currency and no more money.
That's just because of the penny?
Well, we've opened the door. We know how these things work, right? You start to open the door. It's like, well, we got rid of the penny, then the nickel. You guys were talking about that.
We did talk about the nickel.
So Brember's like, let's get rid of the nickel. And then you're like, well, while we're at it, why don't we just do Apple Pay, like Hemmer said? So it's, I don't know. I worry. There's a lot of people out there that like to rely on cash. There's a lot of places that won't accept cash anymore.
I know,
which I have a problem with. Because, as an Italian, I like to pay in cash. And that's all we got for our wedding was envelopes of cash.
I mean, it's not a bad point. The government wants us to pay in digital. And if you think about people that make money doing things with their hands, right? They're handy, they're crafty, they're selling things at the market. On the weekends at the farmer's market, they're selling things on Etsy, and all of a sudden now the government is going to come looking to see if you got $600 or more payment by Venmo to try to capture all that income, rather than doing the smarter type of tax reform that you and I would probably be supportive of.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, the penny. That's a good point. I think that's a good one.
I just know that once these doors get open, they never shut. Right? They never close. It only just leads to more things happening. And we always pay whenever we can our contractors in cash. Our accountant said it's fine. We can pay in cash. They just have to report the income.
It's not your issue.
It's not my problem, but I know they always appreciate it.
I remember I was telling Hemmer this when I was a little kid. I remember I had to clean my room one time. And
just once?
Well, I remember this one time because I never did this one thing again. I was very young. I was supposed to clean my room, and there were pennies, and I threw the pennies in the trash can.
Dana.
And my parents saw the pennies in the trash can, and I got in so much trouble. Yeah. Like, you never throw away money. This is valuable. It's worth something. So we were talking about that today, that I respect the penny.
Well, we were kids. I mean, didn't you throw it into the wishing well at the mall?
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Remember in
Yes.
Goonies when it got tossed back? But I mean, as kids, making wishes at the malls are gone
Cinderella
now, too,
City
so-
Mall in Colorado.
Is that where it was? That was the Rockaway Mall in North Jersey. Mm-hmm. But I guess if malls are going away, what do we need pennies for?
I don't know. So now we've gone down one rabbit hole. What about other things that are on your mind that you were watching from the national political landscape? We'll talk about Pennsylvania in the next one.
Well, on the national political landscape, no question about it. I think everybody's really excited about cutting spending. I mean, caller after caller.
Tell me more about that.
They know that we spend too much money, $35 trillion in debt. There used to be a time we talked about debt. There was the debt clock. It was a whole thing.
Oh, yeah. When I first started on Capitol Hill, the congressman I worked for was the co-author of the Balanced Budget Amendment.
Right. It was a thing.
Those were the days.
I mean, even Bill Clinton tried to do a balanced budget, right? And then, so we're talking about spending, and then when you learn where all this money's going overseas and for what it's going to, listen, I mean, I love a good, transgender opera in Ireland like the next guy, but I mean, do we need to be paying for that? And so people's eyes are opening up to that. But I think there's a story under the radar nobody's talking about yet, which is egg prices because of the avian flu. I talked to Senator Dave McCormick about this. Pennsylvania, huge agricultural state. And this is going to affect the country. I said the other day, I said, let's go to Wegmans and buy lots of eggs because I want to stock up, or Costco, whatever, because I don't want to get hit with the high prices. And we're already paying high prices. So they're slaughtering all these chickens. And the reason why is because they're worried that it's going to mutate and cross over into cattle and everything else. Or humans.
Yeah, we had that story about that today. Interesting thing about the eggs. The bird flu, it comes up over and over again, and you have to stay on top of it. What I think is very interesting is I gave a speech a couple weeks ago in front of an audience, about 1,000 people who are like very smart business owners, men and women who, a lot of mom and pop shops, but successful, smart business from all across the country. And I brought up egg prices and also forestry and things like that. And I said, can anybody here in this room name for me who was the Secretary of Agriculture under President Biden? Anybody? I look around the room, not a soul. Do you know who it was?
No.
Former governor of Iowa, Tom
Purdue.
Vilsack.
Oh.
Purdue was before under
Trump.
Under Trump.
Right.
The former governor of Iowa, Tom Vilsack. And you never once heard from him.
Yeah.
Not once.
Yeah.
And that whole bird flu thing is under his purview.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay?
They slaughtered millions of chickens under him.
That's right. And so one of the reasons we have the higher prices is because of that. All of a sudden now you have Democrats going to the microphones complaining about high egg prices.
Yeah.
Like, where were you for the last 4 years? You might not have lost so badly.
Well, they were busy telling us that Joe Biden was fine.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were
and that the border was
preoccupied.
secure and that
Right.
crime was down.
Right. And that this was all inflation was transitory. So they were very preoccupied.
And that it was a high-class problem.
Exactly.
But eggs, it is a really big issue. Do you have people in your neighborhood are you allowed to keep chickens?
Yeah.
You
Jersey,
are?
Anyone in New Jersey can have chickens.
Is that true?
Yeah,
So
anyone.
I could have chickens?
You can have chickens. I think you should be a
I
chicken
really couldn't
farmer,
have chickens.
Dana.
I'm not there enough to take care of them.
Well-
I grew up with chickens.
Yeah.
And look, picking eggs is not fun. That's not a great chore.
People love doing it.
But I love fresh eggs from the farm.
So sometimes our friends will give us eggs. Yeah, my 4-year-old would chase the chicken like Rocky would. It wouldn't work out well for anybody. By the way, we watched the Puppy Bowl yesterday, me and my daughters,
Yes.
and we loved it.
That was their
fun.
favorite part. Then they went to bed.
Then they went to bed. But no, I think the egg price thing is huge. I think that they are trying to blame President Trump for this, which is crazy because as far as I know, his agricultural secretary has not even been confirmed yet.
No, I don't even think she's had a hearing yet.
Right. So why doesn't the Senate move this along? This is a serious matter, a serious issue.
I think, in defense of the Senate, I think they're moving as pretty quickly as they can. I think people forget that it requires 40 hours of debate per person. So you have to keep that clock running.
That's a lot of hot air.
It's a lot. And then the
Wow.
Democrats can hold it off. And so I think they're moving pretty as quickly as they can. But the president needs his team in place. But I feel like President Trump is just, success agrees with him and it fuels him, right? He's high energy and he's going to sign more executive orders today. Let me ask you a final question before we take a break. Tariffs, because this is the week that he could do some more tariffs, reciprocal tariffs or what they're going to be. I mean, the Mexico-Canada tariffs were really more about fentanyl and the border.
Yeah.
So those tariffs get held off for 30 days. These other tariffs, and President Trump has said, they could possibly raise prices here in America.
Yeah.
Are people going to be bothered by that?
No, because people think that it's crazy that a country will impose 120% tariffs on us so we don't do anything back. So they're rooting for this. I mean, Trump didn't hide this. He said he was going to do this. But your average union guy or gal, whatever, they are all for this because they feel like America's getting screwed. And we've got all these tariffs left over from World War II and the Marshall Plan. And people hear this stuff and they go, President Trump's going to level the playing field. And they also know something about him, which is that it's the 4D chess thing that he loves to do. So he just throws it out there and then they all go, okay, what do you need? Like, I'll send you my plane, like Colombia, you know? What you want, I'll send you the presidential plane so you can get these people home. That's how they look at this. They're not really worried that it's going to happen because they don't really think it's going to happen because they think that the other countries will balk the minute he says it.
They might. So, we just pay attention to all of it. There's just a lot going on. So,
and I was no help to you yesterday with that word salad I sent you.
It was pretty good. We said that there's just a lot going on. We're going to cover everything. All right. We'll be right back with more Perino on Politics. And we're back with Perino on Politics. I wanted to ask you about Pennsylvania because I could be wrong, but it does feel like it's a good microcosm of the country, minus a beach. And it's a big state, an important state. And one of the things that I think is probably pretty exciting for the people of Pennsylvania is you have a governor who is not focused on just being against Trump, but saying, here are the things I am doing to try to make things better for you, my constituents. Then you have Senator Fetterman and the new senator, Dave McCormick, a Republican and a Democrat, getting along very well. This could be very good for Pennsylvania. Do you feel that?
Yes, I do. And I think as far as a microcosm goes, John Fetterman's comments last week about how the Democrat Party is essentially just crazy and they've lost the base and he doesn't know if they can ever win it back. There's a lot to this. Pennsylvania always has been the state where Democrats have been more centrist. I mean, think about the senior Casey, who was governor of Pennsylvania. I mean, the famous landmark case, Casey v. Planned Parenthood, that was him. So there's always been more of a centrist attitude. Fetterman was a guy who ran as a Bernie Sanders socialist in Pennsylvania, and he said he was going to be Bernie Sanders. On economics, I think he is, but the thing about it is that he has to deliver. He wants to deliver. He was a mayor of Braddock, Pennsylvania. He wants to deliver for his constituents. It's what they expect. McCormick wants to deliver, and they know that they have to work together here to get things done. But there is a real problem, though, in the sense that John Fetterman gets attention for calling out the Democrat Party for being too far to the left and for being too far crazy. And he's an outlier. The fact that he's getting attention for this, I think, says everything about the current state of the Democrat Party. So he and Josh Shapiro are the asterisks right now. They're not the norm.
Do you think that Josh Shapiro does want to run for the presidency in 2020?
Oh, 100%. No doubt about it. Oh, yeah.
Do you think he could win the primary?
That's the problem. The only way he wins the primary is if the party were to do a thing where they run a bunch of people in that same crazy lane like they did to get Bernie Sanders out of the race, and they all coalesce around a more centrist candidate. But Phil Murphy wants to run, the governor of New Jersey. He's definitely going to run. Gavin Newsom's going to run. Josh Shapiro could have that lane all to himself. Because he really is trying to not be the anti-Trump. I mean, both Newsom and Murphy came out and said, we're going to Trump-proof our states.
And spend $50 million doing it.
Yeah.
In fact, in California, the law to Trump-proof the state and dedicate $50 million, I think it was at least $50 million, right? They passed that bill while the fires were burning in Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly, right.
It's crazy.
So people can't rebuild their homes, and Newsom's talking about that. There's still fires going on. I have a friend who's in Mexico, can't get back to his house in Palisades in California. But while we're doing that, we're going to Trump-proof the state. It's moronic, but that's the mindset. There still is within the Democrat Party, and you know this better than anybody. I mean, the 4 to 4 primary voters who are going to show up in Iowa, South Carolina, New Hampshire, are they going to want centrism, or are they going to want somebody who, again, is going to try to fight MAGA and go down the road of trying to restore all this woke cultural stuff? The pendulum swings, as we know, and woke's not dead. Woke the pendulum has swung the other way, but it could very easily swing back. And the Democrats are going to fight to make sure that it does swing back. They're not going to give up on this.
Is the new push on chips and the sort of the Silicon Valley movement all across the country, is Pennsylvania going to be a good recipient of that type of industry? Is that kind of investment going into that state? I know Ohio's gotten a lot of it.
Yeah, so Pennsylvania, 3 Mile Island, the nuclear reactor's back online because Google, Microsoft, all these companies need massive amounts of power to power AI. And we don't have the current power for it. So they need nuclear power, and they need lots and lots of natural gas and oil. So Pennsylvania is going to benefit from that. And the fact that President Trump, you and I talked about this months ago, during the election, Biden, with a ban on liquid natural gas exports, when you have to win Pennsylvania, and you still kept that ban in place? Are you kidding me?
But what did you think about that interview that Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, did? And he said that when he confronted Biden about it, Biden said, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
He said, I just am studying it. Well, it's like, but yeah, you announced a study, and at the end of the study, you said it should be banned.
Right.
Sir.
And
he seemed not to know.
He didn't know, and it only affected certain countries, but it sounded like a ban
I don't know if the
on
Democrats are going to recover from this unless somebody is willing to come out and say Biden was wrong, keeping him there was wrong, hiding his condition from the American people was wrong. Can Josh Shapiro do that?
Wow, that's a great question. I think in some extent he already has. I think in some extent he already has said that. But I think the real thing for them is they have to come out and they have to say that our party needs to go back to the roots of the blue-collar, white working class.
But they've lost them.
And if they don't get them back, they will never win again.
I don't see how they get them back.
I agree with you. I don't think they can.
But I know, obviously, we're not that old, but we are old enough to know that politics ebbs and flows and parties go through realignments and things. But it is hard to imagine right now how they get their mojo back.
How do you go back to the 1990s when Bill Clinton was this moderate Democrat who was able to appeal to a new kind of working class people and the union guys and everything? And the problem is that I think a lot of white working class males feel like they were punched in the face the last 3 years and called the worst names possible. Yeah. And they don't want and at the same time, though, the Democrat Party needs to keep some of those crazy voices away, like Rashida Tlaib and AOC.
Oh my
and
gosh,
Ilhan
they
Omar.
provided so much material for us last week. Just like make a montage of all the Democrats screaming. For
Maxine
example,
Waters.
They were outside yelling at a government employee who was told not to let the members into the Department of Education, which I really didn't understand. Let them in. What are they going to do? Are they going to wander the halls and see that nobody came to office on a Friday? I mean, is that what they're going to do?
Right.
I actually also believe that the Democrats, one way they could get back is if they finally were to buck the teachers' unions and say, these test scores, these results for our children are unacceptable. I'm sure you see it in Pennsylvania as well. Mirroring the national test scores are abysmal.
Oh, they are abysmal. I mean, it's gotten worse, right? So this is another area where Josh Shapiro could make a difference. He was a guy who ran on school choice and charter schools. But like a lot of Democrats, when they get their eyes set on national office, they abandon that. Cory Booker, when he was mayor of Newark.
Yeah.
And that was his whole thing, was school choice. And then he becomes a U.S. senator and abandons it. The teachers union has so much control. I see it with New Jersey. I mean, Camden, New Jersey, Newark, New Jersey, these cities. And this is the civil rights issue of our time, and Republicans are right to own it.
That's why I think that it is, to me, that one of the ways that the Democrats could, if they had an insurgent candidate who was willing to buck the teachers' unions, they might be able to pull some of those people back.
There's a guy named Steve Sweeney who's running for governor of New Jersey in the primary, in the Democrat primary. He bucked the New Jersey Education Association, and he won back his state Senate seat after Ed Durr, the trucker, beat him in that very famous election. Steve Sweeney is battling the teachers union. Josh Shapiro right now needs to make a choice. Do you want to stand with the teachers union or do you want to stand with school choice? Everybody in Pennsylvania is waiting. This could be a marquee moment for him.
We'll be right back with more Perino on Politics. And we're back with Perino on Politics. Before I ask you the final question, you're doing your show from New York today?
I am.
Do you enjoy that?
I love it. I love being here.
Yeah, it's good to have you in the city.
Thank you.
Yeah, we enjoy it. All right, so what I ask here is, what do you think I could be missing? Like, what are you paying attention to that might be obscure or on your radar that's not on mine?
The issue of MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, is a big reason why a lot of suburban moms voted for Donald Trump, even though they hated him. And I'm telling you this because I listen. As a good talk show host, Dana, I was taught many years ago, pay attention and listen to people when they talk. And I hear a lot of these moms, and they are really frustrated with the crap that's in our food, what they serve at the school cafeteria. And it's not that they're anti-vaccine, but they have a lot of questions. They really do. And the timing, the schedule, all these different things. These suburban moms who were vocally anti-Trump in 2020. I mean, they hated the guy, voted for him because Bobby Kennedy kind of gave them the Facebook shaming, social media shaming cover that they needed to be able to tell other people that they were voting for Donald Trump because of Maha. And I think that issue is going to be a big deal. But it all comes back to the kids in education. There are 2 governor's races this year, Virginia and New Jersey. Education is going to be the battle. Glenn Youngkin won on this. We're going to go back to books in the classroom. We're going to go back to the idea of DEI in the classroom. All these things are about to come to a head. And then the other issue that everybody needs to realize it's about to come to a head is immigration, because moderate Republicans are going to have to figure out what their messaging is on immigration when Tom Homan starts cracking down on people who aren't criminals but are here illegally in the United States, which of course is a crime, but you know what I mean.
How many are in Pennsylvania?
I don't know the number.
But it's a lot?
But it's a lot. But I think it's absolutely a lot. City size of Pittsburgh, I think.
Wow.
In terms of illegal immigrants.
Really?
Yeah, and it costs the taxpayers of Pennsylvania over $1 billion a year in services just to deal with that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you think a Republican can win the governorship of in New Jersey this year?
Yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, the momentum's there, and New Jersey's not really a blue state if you look at it. South Jersey's all red. The coast is all red.
Like, if
Northwest Jersey's red.
Trump puts his shoulder behind it and pushes, I think it could happen.
He won Passaic County. He won the city of Passaic. But then here's the question, though. New Jersey has always gone the opposite direction. So if there's a Republican in the White House, they vote for a Democrat governor. Chris Christie won when Barack Obama was president.
Yeah.
Will New Jersey buck that trend?
I don't think so. Do you remember last week when Governor Phil Murphy talked about hiding Marta in his garage?
Yeah.
And that she was of questionable legal standing with immigration, and then he tells his spokesperson to say, "Tell them I was just joking." So either you lied or you told your spokesperson to lie. Either way is terrible.
Oh, it's absolutely terrible.
And I liked it when Jesse Waters on the 5 said he acts like he's hiding Anne Frank, and I just felt I think that this issue could really turn against the Democrats in New Jersey.
It could, but he didn't deny it, though. His spokesperson did.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So he either lied himself or he told the spokesperson to lie.
I think Murphy would love nothing more than for ICE to come to the governor's mansion or his residence. I think he would love it, because this goes back to 28. At some point, the question's going to be, when they start deporting people who are not the criminals, the hardened criminals, where's the public sentiment going to be? The Democrats, I think, are going to make a bet that it's going to be anti. They don't want this. They don't want the abuelas and the migrant workers in the field deported. I think the Democrat Party is going to make that bet. So Murphy would love to be the guy who comes out there and says, hey, I'm going to protect you. There's a bill right now in the New Jersey legislature. Democrats are saying they haven't read it yet, but it's all about protecting illegal immigrants who are not criminals, quote unquote criminals.
I don't know. I don't know if public sentiment will be there. I think legal immigration got so destroyed under the Biden administration. It's not been good for a long time.
Yeah.
But it got so much more destroyed under Biden that when you have 87% of people saying they're okay with deportations.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say let's cut that down by 30 if the abuelas are taken. You're still at 57%.
100%. And that's why John Fetterman, to go back to that, he was vocally saying we can't have this, the size of the city of Pittsburgh in population crossing our border illegally every day. It's nuts. It's insane. But there were not a lot of other Democrats saying that.
He doesn't want to run for president, does he? Fetterman?
Why not?
Okay. And he's not going to change a Republican?
No way.
Okay.
Come on, you know that.
I believe that he won't, but I'm just asking because everybody asks.
That's his power base, right? Being the Democrat. The question is, will they Joe Manchin him? Will they Kirsten
Make him irrelevant?
Yeah.
Well, he's our biggest star right now, so they might not want to. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.